everybody. It's Tony George. It's free pick video time here on Thursday. And what's interesting, we're going to bring Sean Salisbury in here, our new media partner, to talk about three big games today on deck, including the big one in the NBA tonight. First of all, Sean, have you survived the rolling blackouts in Texas?
Yes, everything's fine. There's a lot of people who have it worse than me, but yes, I went through about 28, 30 hours of it, straight blackout with nothing, and then it came back and went off and came back, and it was off for a while and came back, and it's been fluctuating. It's supposed to go on until Saturday, but no complaints here, brother. All's good. As you can see, hooded sweatshirt just in case, so I'm good, my man.
There you go. And we're going to have some intermittent internet issues with Sean, but you can hear him perfectly. And because of what's going on down there in Texas. But nonetheless, what's going on in Los Angeles tonight is of great concern to a lot of people. A national TV game on TNT tonight. So you got the TNT crew covering this one, which in my opinion is the best analyst show on television, I might add.
Amen.
With Barkley and those guys, they tell it like it is, and Ernie Johnson, that's the best show on television, period. But that being said, we are without Anthony Davis, the Los Angeles Lakers tonight. And right now, Sean, the Los Angeles Lakers are a 2.5-point home favorite. The total in this game is 232.5, which 77% of the money is on the under, and 87% of the money is on the Los Angeles Lakers minus Anthony Davis. And I guess one thing you brought up in your intro show that when we brought Sean on and kind of discussed his role here at Docs and Sean and I's history, you had mentioned the fact that the Lakers, you could be in a little bit of trouble here without Davis. The interesting note about them not playing with Anthony Davis this year, Sean, is they're 5-1. And that was a little bit of a surprise because I thought, well, I'm going to bring this up with Sean on Thursday when we're talking about this game. And, of course, Brooklyn got it done the other night without Irving, without Durant. James Harden and the rest of the boys went into Phoenix. And as you know, I know your son's kind of involved with the Suns at a certain level. A very talented and very deep basketball team, the Suns are. Deep team, which I thought, Brooklyn's going to be shorthanded. The Suns were laying like 3 points, thought they would maybe have their way with them a little bit. How's the team going to develop any offensive chemistry without a couple of their big weapons? Well, they got the job done, and now they're playing Los Angeles here tonight. Your thoughts on this setup?
Yeah, I think it's gone down, Tony. I think it started at about 3.5 yesterday when I looked at it, depending on where you looked, right? The Lakers at 3.5, and I'm like, this is odd. Now, I guess we'll have a game time or a little bit later decision on, Durant was out because of the virus, and the great thing about Brooklyn is, if you're a fan of Brooklyn, I grew up a Laker fan, is that if Harden misses, Kyrie can hang 40 on you. If Durant misses and the other two play, then they're capable of 75 between them. If plays the other two miss, well, KD will get you 35, 40. And Harden did it. You mentioned about this team, and I had the Suns as a 7 seed. I really believe the Suns, and they're starting to rise and play pretty decent basketball this season. In this game, now listen, when you go back and look at the numbers, say, without Anthony Davis, that's the perfect point in LeBron James. Now, this team, after winning an NBA title, went and got deeper, Tony. They did. They went and got deeper bench-wise and starting-wise, and they play lights-out defense. Their effort on the defensive end, obviously, that guy who wears number 23 is pretty good at elevating players around him. And I think but this is different. I actually am surprised that almost 90% of the money is on the Lakers. I am. I know it's in their building. I understand that. But I can tell you this, and here's where we are right now. If all three of the big three play, and they aren't able to go and measure that. And I know LeBron loves to measure himself against the best at full strength. But this dude loves this stuff. He does. He loves this. And if KD, if he's ripe and ready to go, and, injury-wise now, the game-to-game, Kyrie and James are all on the floor, and they don't pull this out and don't win on the road, it's going to tell me a little bit of something. Because their skill set should say it. The question is, can they defend? What will the Lakers bench do? And is LeBron going to play like Superman? I actually like Brooklyn in this game, and that's coming from a Laker fan. I do. I think that if Brooklyn's at full strength, I don't see how they don't try to send a loud message. I know we're 28 games into the season or whatever it is, 30 games into the season, but this is a chance. And while it's meaningless when it comes to the playoffs, I don't think it's psychologically meaningless, and I don't think it's meaningless money-wise. I think the Lakers streak ends tonight as far as winning against the spread. I got Brooklyn going on the road. I'm assuming at least two of the three big guns are going to be there. If all three are and they don't pull this out, not only is it proved that the Lakers are still the NBA's best team regardless, but it also tells me that the Brooklyn Nets didn't play any defense tonight, if that's the case.
And, what's one of Brooklyn's big, Achilles heel, at least beginning of the season, Steve Nash had a hell of a time getting them to play defense. And once they started playing defense, they started beating people. And one thing about LA is I do think you will see maybe one of LeBron James's best games this season tonight, because this is a type of stage that he will bring it. You know that, Sean. Especially.
Hey, Tony, real quick with that. Real quick, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I hopefully there's not a big hesitation, but or delay. This thing, and you mentioned it. And any coach that you've talked to over the years or covered, and same with me. You know what they say? They don't say a dunk changes the thing, or and when you watch Steph Curry, when the Golden State, and he ran in 3 and 4 3-pointers in a row, or Luka Doncic has got his game going. You know what changes momentum, like a turnover in football changes momentum, is great energy on the defensive end. They always say it. I know it's the oldest they play defense if you could score 130. Well, the Lakers are capable of scoring 140, okay, just like Brooklyn is. And it's that amazing ability to get a stop, change momentum, and go on a run, and it's usually because of a defensive stop. They're going to need him tonight, and I'm with you. I would expect LeBron to do what he always does, elevate. It's on TV. We know he knows, but it's also incumbent upon them. Brooklyn better show up. They'll score because they've got scores. The key is, can they get a couple key stops when it matters? I'm still going with Brooklyn, and that's hurtful for me because the Lakers may win the game, but I've seen it go down. If Brooklyn's got any guts, they go in there and win in this game, and it sends a message to themselves more than just to the Lakers.
Right, I agree with that, and I'm going to give the lean here. I do, because I think both coaches understand that they're going to win this game defensively. I like the under 232.5 in this game. I can see both teams, maybe 105 to 110, not much more than that. I think it's going to be a slower paced out game. I think that both teams will try. I know LA will try and milk the clock a little bit, especially if all three guys are starting for Brooklyn. It's like playing the Kansas City Chiefs. You just want to run the football the whole time to keep Mahomes and his band of merry men off the field. It's the same thing in the NBA, especially. And if Irving and trust me, if Durant doesn't play and Irving and Harden play, trust me, the Phoenix Suns were one of the better defensive teams in the league, and they lit them up without Irving. Only Harden. So bear that in mind, folks. And the other thing, too, is in defense of Sean's pick here, the Los Angeles Lakers are not that good of a shooting team. They're 20th in shooting the ball in the NBA in shooting percentage, and they only shoot 35% from three-point range, which is in the bottom 6 in the league. So, they're going to need LeBron to have 40 plus. If LeBron doesn't have 40 tonight, they're probably 38 to 42. They're probably not, LA's probably not going to win. That's for sure.
And one last thing about that, Tony, it's the old fella too. If you're Brooklyn and you're defending tonight, you got all your weapons that you can match them point for point, right? And even without Anthony Davis, for this is, and you go with the philosophy, say, okay, if LeBron, I'm actually looking in this game, the number 2 scorer for the Lakers. Who's going to pick that up? Because I fully expect LeBron to go triple-double on him and be that guy tonight. The question is it the old Michael Jordan thing where if Jordan gets 50, I can't let Pippen get 34, right? It's tonight. Right. If I'm going to shut them down and LeBron does get 40, I've got to make sure that the supporting cast doesn't light it up where we got 3 guys in the 20s and they're able to spread the wealth with LeBron getting 14 assists and 12 rebounds and 40 points and then 6 other guys in double figures. So I'm not only keeping an eye on what LeBron does, but I'm actually looking around on the periphery and seeing, does the number 2 and the number 3 add to this game tonight? If not, Brooklyn goes in there and not only wins, but I mean, not only covers that spread, gets inside that 2.5 points, but wins the game. And that's just called being a non-homer, although I want to be a homer with the Lakers, and I do like your under. I would take the under in this game. If Anthony Davis was in it and they were running up and down the floor, it'd be a different ball game for me when it comes to those points, but I'm with you.
You're going to see a lot of Harrell tonight for LA. They're going to put him in there. He's coming off the bench, but they're going to want to get physical inside. And trust me, the other thing too is Steve Nash had his ass kicked in this building a great deal. He would love nothing more to go in here when he was a player and go in here, and both with Phoenix and Dallas, and he would love to go in here and get a win. So that's what we're taking. Sean on Brooklyn, and I'm on the under. Quickly, 2 more picks here today for you. We're doing marquee games today, and there's a big one in the Big Ten that's got me scratching my head, Sean. I can't figure out why, and that's the Iowa Hawkeyes on the road. They are a 2-point underdog at Wisconsin, and when Wisconsin's last game, I had a top play when Michigan went in there and beat them on Sunday, and Michigan had played only 1 game in about 2.5 weeks, and they struggled in the first half. They had to knock a little bit of rust off the engine, so to speak. But once they got going in the second half, that was it. And here's some interesting numbers. Iowa's last game was on the road, and that was at Michigan State, and they waxed them by 30. The game before that, they beat a very good Rutgers team by 13. Rutgers is kind of surging right now. And in the last 5 games, and one thing I do, Sean, in the handicapping world, you can look at season-long stats, but you want to see right here, right now. So I break down the last 5 games because teams are cyclical. You know this, playing quarterback in the NFL. You may start out the season crappy, but middle of the season, you catch your mojo, and all of a sudden you're rolling, and the stats are totally different than what they were while you were losing. And Iowa, the last 5 games, scoring 80, allowing 71, but Wisconsin, they're scoring 64 points a game and allowing 65. That is a recipe for disaster. I have a tough time thinking that Wisconsin is going to rise up out of the ashes here, in my opinion, and cover this spread against an Iowa team that, granted, Iowa had a little bit of a skid mark here in the middle of the season after they were tearing everybody up early, and now they're surging again. And I think Iowa is one of the top, anywhere from 4 to 6 teams in the country, especially with Garza down low in this game. I think that's a big mismatch for Wisconsin.
Tony, you and I are in the same church, sitting in the same church pew, singing the same hymn, brother. I'm with you in the recents, and there was a lull in watching Iowa basketball play. They started, and like you hit it perfect. They kind of got to they were playing blah basketball, and you mentioned the Lakers and slowing it down in the Kansas City Chiefs. Isn't this methodical Wisconsin basketball mirrors their football team, right? We want to be physical. We want to limit your points. We'd like to wear you out, and we may only beat you by 2, but we're going to get you. I like Iowa in this game, and here's why. Tony, there's 2 things you must have in college basketball, aside from a great coach. We know that. And when you can waltz in on a Tom Izzo type team and hammer them by 30, regardless how good Michigan State is, it tells you something. But you must have 2 things in my mind in college basketball, not only to win a game on the road, but also to be a team that's a Final Four, Elite Eight type of team that you and I have discussed about, a team like Houston that we'll talk about in a second. One is you better have great guard play. Guards, I mean, as we know, perimeter, swingman play, a dominant guard in college basketball is more important most of the time than a dominant center, unless that center is one of the best players or the guy in college basketball. Iowa has both. Their backcourt underrated, not getting enough love. Wieskamp now is playing great basketball. Yeah. I actually think that he's one of the best perimeter swing guards, and their backcourt is underrated because all the focus is on Luka Garza, right? One of the top scorers, one of the best big men. They have both. Can Micah Potter in Wisconsin deal with Luka Garza, number 1? But in that, even if he does, and they have a stalemate with Iowa on the road, the question is, the guard play has elevated their play with Iowa. So they're going into this thing gaining momentum, playing good basketball. We know that Wisconsin will defend, but you got your hands full because they can shoot from distance, and Garza can gnaw his way to 25 points. So Potter's got his hands full on both ends of the floor for Wisconsin. But you keep an eye tonight in this game, and I cannot wait, that can Wisconsin deal with not only Garza, but can they take away the perimeter play, in particular Wieskamp, who I think has become one of the better swing perimeter type players in the country that not a lot of people talk about unless you have to play against him. This is a good team. I've been an Iowa fan since the season started. Wisconsin's going to need more than 60 points to win tonight, I assure you.
There you
go.
like
Iowa.
And you know what? You may be, so you hear a lot out here in Las Vegas, Sean, more so than you do in the mainstream world, sharp versus square. And this is a square play. This is a square play to take Iowa. Well, if you look at the statistics, and by the way, sometimes the public wins, and this is one of those games. I think that if I'm going to put money down on this game, the only money I got is Hawkeye money, and that's coming from a Husker fan. That's coming from a Husker fan who hates the Hawkeyes, by the way. No offense, but the old saying we used to have back in Lincoln, Nebraska. You know what the best thing ever to come out of Iowa was? That was I-80 West. So
there you go. Get him out of town. That's right.
One more game real quick. Sean's hometown. Yeah, Sean's hometown team here today. We'll make it short and sweet here, but a big game in the AAC, number 1 versus number 2 going at it. And I think there's a large difference between number 1 and number 2 in the AAC, and that's the Houston Cougars going on the road, taking on the Wichita State Shockers in Wichita. First game was back in January around the 6th, and a 7-point win for Houston, which kind of surprised me in that game. But here's what surprised me. This line's anywhere from 7 to 7.5 right now, John. The total's 138. A lot of people use a rating system, and I use a power rating system, but a popular one that people can go to online is KenPom. And KenPom ratings is something even that the NCAA committee uses for power rating teams and their RPIs and their offensive and defensive efficiencies. And if you pay the full price to go on this website, you can get some good information off of it. I don't think you base everything off of it. But his power rating difference between these two teams, Sean, may shock you. He has Houston as a 17-point favorite. They're down to 7.5. Taking a look at, we talked about those last 5-game stats. Houston scoring 80 points a game versus the Shockers 70. Houston allowing 60 versus the Shockers allowing 70. And what's interesting is in the last 5 games, the Wichita State Shockers are scoring 29 points a game in the first half. If you're going to score 29 points in the first half against Houston and that defense that they have, you're going to have a hell of a hard time making up points in the second half, especially when you're scoring that low there. And by the way, the last game, Wichita State Shockers managed a 61-60 win over Central Florida. They scored 61 points against Central Florida. And by the way, against South Florida, Houston hung 82 on them. I think this number might be a little bit short, but one thing I'm looking at here, Sean, is the under in that defense we talked about the other day in your initial show. Is interesting statistic about Calvin Sampson coaching up his team. When his teams play teams that have a 600 win percentage or better, he's 15-2 on the under the last 17 games. He knows how to get physical and play some defense here. I think this might be a little bit shy in terms of the number.
Matter of fact, I'm closer to the KenPom talk than I am towards the line. I'm with you. And this has nothing to do as a USC Trojan. I love Kelvin Sampson, but this is just a basketball fan who looks at it and says, I think part of it is Wichita State, where they're going. And this is actually, which is crazy in the AAC, in the loss column, this is a huge game. And don't mistake the fact a 2 seed and a 3 seed are on the line, because in the pre-picks, as they start to parlay it out, they have Houston as a 2 seed. As they're ranked 6th in the country right now. So this is a monster visual optics game, and you don't want to win by 2. I don't think it's going to be close, Tony. I don't. I think defense is going to be swarming. I think one of Kelvin's concerns, and looking and reading the local paper today and some of the stuff on University of Houston's website as well, and just looking at different people's feel, is they want more bench play. You don't want to wear him out. They got to get better bench play from his team so he doesn't have to run his starters as long as he wants to, especially as you gear up towards the tournament, right? You want to be – I know a lot of the great teams aren't deep, but Kelvin, because of the defensive effort on the defensive end, needs some minutes. And I actually think that they're taking this game – I think they're treating this like single elimination, knowing him. You mentioned the 15-2 record against teams that have a 600 winning percentage or better. Kelvin Sampson's team, they're going to boat race Wichita State in that building tonight. Wichita State Shocker fans don't want to hear it, and I get it. But listen, and the discrepancy between the way Houston plays offense and the number of points they give up, that's a long way to cover. Wichita State will have to play their best game at home to be in this basketball game. I'm with the under. I'm also, in my opinion, with this game being this should be double digits if Houston plays like I think they're going to play tonight.
You know, I've been wanting to get a hold of it. I wanting to butt heads with you and disagree with you. I want some of that Sean Salisbury raw and unfiltered, but
it's coming, brother. We're going to get that.
But nonetheless, I do agree here. There's 3 free picks right there, folks. We got a free $60 over at Docs. That link in the description below. Come on over and catch it. I am on a very nice 31-15 run in college basketball right now. And coming off a big top play winner last night, Missouri State, a wire-to-wire winner over another ridiculous line, I might add, over Southern Illinois, only laying 4.5, 5 points in that game. They absolutely wiped the floor with them. I love me some Mo Valley basketball. But nonetheless, Sean's going to join us tomorrow, and we're going to do 3 look-ahead games, marquee games for Saturday. And be sure and check Sean out online over there. Is it 790sports.com, Sean?
Sports790.com. Yep. That's the blog. And you can catch us on iHeartRadio and on my Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. All this link will be up. It'll take you to where you want to go, to Tony, to me, and to Docs, and to start making you, Tony's already been making you money, but add to it, and with a great analysis from you, Tony. And I promise you and I will go all John Clayton on him at some point and butt heads on these. But I think we're on the same page about these 3 games. And what I love, Tony, is we don't even discuss these before we come on here. And I like that. It's fresh. Yeah. It's exciting. And one of these times we're going to pick 3 games, and it may be this weekend where we want to butt heads on all 3. But I think we're on the same page of these 3. And you make people a lot of money, and I think that they'll get themselves to cash in tonight.
Appreciate that. And, of course, because the me kissing your ass period's almost over now. So we're going to – we'll be back.
I want a fat wallet, brother. I could care less about you kissing it. Okay, there you go.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Sean Salisbury, myself, back tomorrow. 3 look-ahead games for Saturday. Marquee games. Be sure and tune in. Good luck tonight, folks.